Hi, and welcome to Catholic Charities Central Washington Childcare Nutrition Program. Today we are going to be going through our introductory PowerPoint for any new or returning providers. Starting with some history about our nutrition program here at Catholic Charities. Since 1984, our federally funded reimbursement program has been dedicated to serving providers and helping them provide nutritious meals to children across our region. Our mission is to offer support, education, and ensure the success of your business. Please follow along and join us through this PowerPoint to discover everything our program has to offer. At the end, we'll have a quick overview followed by a quiz to help you decide if this program is right for you. With our providers being our top priority, it is crucial that we always have open lines of communication. We do have some unannounced monitor visits, so it is key so that we do not show up to your home unannounced when you are closed or on vacation out of the state. So we do ask that you always keep us informed. We did list our forms of communication down below. One of the most important ones is going to be the nutrition email. It is nutrition@catholiccharities.cw.org. We do ask that you save that, as that's going to play a key role in sending over all of the important documents that we will need for the program. Starting out with our rules and regulations. So as mentioned in our history, we are a federally funded program. It is extremely crucial that we do adhere to all regulations, as non-compliance can lead to fraudulent activity, jeopardizing both the provider and the program. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and start outlining the expectations for the program. I do want to make note that these next three maintenance rules are going to be the most important for the program. This is kind of really going to define your success within the nutrition program. So the first one being providers must keep a daily accurate menu record of all actual foods that are served for each meal claimed. So you're going to want to make sure that your menu with all your components are current and up to date. Providers must also keep daily meal counts. Meal counts are the meals that each child was served. So if a student is there and eating breakfast, AM, and lunch, you're going to want to mark that down so we can verify during our visit. And attendance must also be kept daily. So these are the three daily record keeping requirements. Missing any one of the three will result in a loss of meal reimbursement for those meals. I do also want to make note that when we do go and do our visits, we are going to be checking these three daily records, and we're going to be checking the last 5 days of any visit that we do. So it is extremely crucial that you stay on these every single day. I say if you have 5 minutes after the last kiddo leaves for the day, go ahead and enter that. You can enter it on your phone. It is a web-based program that we utilize, so you can use it on your cell phone, tablet, computer, whatever it is. The most successful providers are the providers that are entering these three daily records every single day. At the end of the day or at time of service, whatever it is, the ones who are the most successful are the ones who are maintaining them daily. Our rules and regulations continued. We do ask that all children in care must be enrolled. Please also agree that there is no separate charge for the parents that will be imposed, seeing as we are already reimbursing you for those meals. The provider must notify the office in advance when they do plan to be out of the home during a meal service period. So that is another key point when that nutrition email comes into play. If you're not going to be there, we don't want to be showing up at your house unannounced and uninvited when you are on vacation, sick, whatever it may be. Please contact us and let us know what's going on. The provider must all allow representatives from Catholic Charities, OSPI, or USDA, and any other federal official to come into the provider's home during regular hours of operation. So if you are open and you have kiddos and we show up for a visit, you must allow us into the home to proceed with a visit. If for provider claims dinners or weekends on a regular basis, we must be able to successfully review the children in care during this time. Please be sure to always inform us if your schedule has changed or if the children are not in care for the visit so that we don't show up unannounced. These visits are always going to be unannounced, so it is crucial that you keep those lines of communication open with us and let us know what's going on. It can be something as simple as sending an email saying no dinners tonight, no kids. Simple as that. It doesn't have to be super in-depth and giving us all of the reasons. We just need to know you're not serving dinner and for what reason. Training sessions will be offered by Catholic Charities each fiscal year. The provider is required to participate and complete the training session each year. If approved, merit credit will be given. Claims are due in office on the 5th day of each month, following the month being claimed. So for instance, January's claim is going to be due on February 5th. Please pay attention to the deadline date. If your claim is late, it may result in your payment being withheld for another month. Late claims may be processed and paid if the claim is received within 45 days following the claim month. Payment will be made according to the month received. So we are a month behind. If you start in January, your first check will be received at the end of February, the last working day. So it is crucial you pay attention to these due dates so that you aren't receiving your payment 2 months behind. We will also notify you to submit any late claims so that you can get paid for those meals served. So if the child care nutrition staff do feel that something isn't matching to the claims, we do have the right to investigate records which appear questionable. So judgments made are based on information from parents, providers, and food program specialists and may require the following: corrective action of provider and or development of any overpayment and or termination for the cause of convenience. The misuse of federal funds jeopardizes the child care food program for everyone. Accurate records are the substantiation for the integrity of the CACFP. Let's go ahead and go through some key points, as that was quite a bit of information that we just went through with all of our rules and regulations. So starting with, this is a reimbursement and cannot be considered income for any purpose. You must maintain records and claim any amount over the actual food expense as income. We will also send out an end of year tax form for you, typically in January, so that you have that for your records as well. Your application is not complete until we receive a copy of your child care license, and any representatives from Catholic Charities, OSPI, and or USDA must be allowed to come into your home during operating hours for the purpose of reviewing the child care food program operations. There will be several visits conducted throughout the year, with at least 2 visits unannounced by the sponsoring organization, OSPI and or USDA. They may review the program at any time, so please be prepared for these visits with all paperwork in order. Again, best practice is going to be maintaining those records daily in kid care or on paper, however it is you feel most confident. All records must be maintained daily on the forms provided by our office or in the kid care program. Actual time in and out must be kept for each child per day. That also includes the children, your own children under the age of 13. Attendance records may be kept on the provided attendance forms. Daily sign in and out records or in kid care. Menu records must be maintained daily. That includes handwritten or on the kid care website as well. Meal counts are a part of the 3 daily records that you must maintain. Please be aware that you can maintain these on the daily meal worksheet or in the kid care program, or even on the parent sign in and out records, however you have that organized. Failure to have current menu forms, attendance, and meal counts listed for each day will cause loss of reimbursement for each day neglected. So just be mindful every single day that you do not have those records, those meals will be disallowed and you will not be able to be reimbursed for those meals. Parents' sign in and out records may be asked to verify information for claim received. We may also check the sign in and out records to verify children claim for dinners or weekends. Be sure again to submit all claim and information by the 5th of each month, and child enrollment forms must be sent to the office as soon as you begin caring for the child. Do not hold them until the end of the month. So this is extremely important. As soon as you start caring for a child, you are going to want to enroll them into the Kid Care program. You'll print out that enrollment form, have the parents sign and date the same day, typically when they come for pickup. Snap a photo or scan and send that to our email so that you don't prolong your payment for these kiddos. Please make sure that the parent signs and dates the form at the bottom, but also please be sure that the parent dates the form within the month the child is enrolled. So for instance, if you enroll a child on January 1st, please make sure that that parent signs within the month of January. Please keep in mind that school updates must be submitted along with a claim for any school agers within the program. This will all be done in Kid Care when submitting your claim. There are a few different ways you can do it on the calendar. My favorite way and the most common way I let providers know is by using the comment box when entering meals. There will be a box at the bottom whenever you are inputting your meal information. There you can just put whatever the message may be, early release Mondays, late start Fridays, whatever it may be. You can leave it in that comment box and we will have access to that to verify why the kiddo was not in school. Holiday signature form. So if you are going to be working any of the 6 major holidays, we do send out a holiday signature form. We will send it out the month before the actual holiday. That needs to be filled out and signed by parents if you care for children on those holidays. That must also be submitted along with your claim for the month it applies to, or the meals will be disallowed for that holiday. Mandatory training is scheduled each year for the purpose of providing training for the food program. It is required that all providers receive at least 2 to 3 hours of training each fiscal year. If approved, merit credit will be given for each hour. We'll go ahead and wrap up our key points with our final 3 here. First being reimbursement. So when first starting the food program, your reimbursement will be 1 month behind. For example, if January is the first month you start claiming meals, your first payment will be deposited into your bank account the last working day of February. You will receive your reimbursement in your bank account on the last working day of each month. Providers are required to have some kind of bank account for the purpose of direct deposit that will be collected during your official sign up. And if anything changes throughout your time in the program, you will send that through the nutrition email that we had listed above. 24-hour care. If your child care license does not cover you for 24-hour care, then we cannot pay you for meals served to children who are in your care for 24 hours or more. If the care situation is a major emergency, only payment for 3 consecutive days will be allowed as the parent signed a note stating the emergency. The emergency will be determined if major or not. Please note these instances are limited and carefully determined. Record keeping. Providers are required to keep records for the food program for 3 years plus the current year. We'll go ahead and start with what to expect from a monitor visit and what those will look like. So our monitor visits are conducted 3 times a year. Our fiscal year is October 1st through September 30th. I apologize. We must be able to successfully monitor 2 meals out of the 3 visits. 2 of the 3 visits must be unannounced. These meals can be from breakfast through evening snack, just depending on what meals you're claiming on a regular basis. If you are claiming at least 1 child every night for dinner or weekends, you will need to be monitored for those meals. In some circumstances, you may be monitored more than 3 regular visits due to any changes in your schedule. Just remember, if you have any children present, we must be able to conduct that monitor visit. Go ahead and touch base on what exactly is asked of you during a visit. So during your monitor visit, you will be asked the following: your current month records, which include your menus, meal counts, and attendance forms for the month. Records should be present on the premises and current or entered into kid care. If we arrive and your records are not up to date, the meals will be disallowed prior to the day we arrive. If your paperwork is not on the premises, those meals will be disallowed. If you have an assistant caring for children in your place, they must have knowledge where the paperwork is and able to produce it to complete the monitor visit, or the meals will be disallowed. Please note, if you are 5 days or more behind during this visit, that will place you in an automatic serious deficiency. Serious deficiency is a 2-year probationary period when behind. The provider is not to be serious deficient at any time during this time, as it will lead to an automatic proposed term, resulting in a 7-year ban from any other USDA program. You will be told if we are there to review a specific meal. So for instance, if we show up at 8 a.m. for breakfast, upon arrival, we will say, "Hey, I'm Selena, I'm here to monitor a breakfast," and then you would allow them to enter in. The food needs to be observed and served to the children. You'll be asked which children are in care for the meal. Make sure the children wash their hands before each meal, as that is one of the observations we need to make. And then we also need to observe the cleanliness of the preparation area and the eating area. We also need to be mindful that the meal we observe must match the food that you record for that meal. If your claim arrives and the meal you recorded does not match the food we observed, the meal will be disallowed. Our monitors do an excellent job at reminding you about that, and they will even let you know what they put down so that you guys can correlate and work together and have those matching meals, as we do want you to get reimbursed. If you are over your license capacity or your assistant is not on the premises when they need to be, we are required by the state of Washington to report that infraction to a CPS intake worker. So please, please, please always be mindful of your capacity. We don't want to make that call. You don't want us to make that call. Let's just work together so we can avoid that situation. At the end of the visit, you will receive a copy of our completed monitor form via email and a thank you for your time and cooperation. This is also a great point if you have any questions or anything of that sort to ask the monitors. They will help you and assist you in any which way that they can. And then please note that if you follow the rules of the nutrition program, you'll make your life easier and our job that much more rewarding. We are here to help you. If you don't understand or have questions you need answered, please feel free to contact us at any time. We will do our best to add to your business's success. Okay, now we can go ahead and jump into our reimbursement rates. These are our most recent reimbursement rates, effective as of July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. There are 2 different tiers that will be determined at your sign up. It goes based off location. So once you get signed up, we'll be able to go into a little bit more information about what tier you are so that you can determine what your reimbursements will look like. There is a maximum amount of meals eligible for reimbursement within a 24-hour day, and that is typically 2 main meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 main meal, depending on what foods you are offering. And that is per child. So again, 3 meals in total, 2 main meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 main meal. Now we're going to go ahead and switch gears just a bit and speak more on the food-related topics regarding the program. We'll start with our child nutrition labels. So what are child nutrition labels? A CN label identifies the contribution of a food product makes towards the child nutrition meal pattern. It is not always possible to know how much meat or bread or a product provides. A CN label clearly spells out these quantities for a product where there are a mix of ingredients. If you look to your right, there is a little box there. That is an example of a child nutrition label. It is regarding a whole grain cheese pizza, and it just kind of gives you the breakdown of all of the components in the pizza. So that's what we're speaking about when we're talking about CN labels. So CN labels are required for all frozen, prepackaged, including deli meats. Main dish entrees examples include beef patties, cheese meat pizzas, chicken nuggets, corn dogs, fish sticks, meatballs, lasagna, etc. Where do you find the CN labels? The CN labels can be found on products packaging near the nutrition label. Oh, how do you use a CN label? So in order to use a CN label, you're going to compare the information from the CN label to the CACFP meal pattern minimum requirements to know how much to serve a child. Below we have an example for pre-cooked breaded fish sticks. It'll show you the minimum meal pattern requirements, the crediting info from the CN label. So 4 fish sticks is equivalent to 2 ounces of a meat alternative, 1 ounce of equivalent of grains. So the serving size at lunch supper would be 2 fish sticks for 1 and 2 year olds, 3 fish sticks for 3 to 5 year olds, 4 fish sticks for 6 years or older, etc. So what happens if my product does not have a CN label? That is totally possible. So we do have 2 different options here for you on how to handle that. Option 1 is serving an additional protein on the side, for example, cheese, yogurt, beans, etc. We have also listed on how to log that into KidCare. There are the numbers there that you'll utilize to input that. There is also option number 2 where you can contact the manufacturer or Google the product formulation statement. The product formulation statement tells you the same exact information as a CN label. So that's a good way to make use of both resources to get that information needed. This is an example of a product formulation statement. This one in particular is for the original Yummy Dino Buddies. So on the right hand side, that is the product formulation statement. That again is not a CN label, not to be confused with the 2, just an example so that you can see the difference. However, it does still have all the information we are looking for. Example, product formulation statement for 100% all natural Yummy Dino Buddies. This is another example of the product formulation statement. This one is for the 100% all natural Yummy Dino Buddies. Upon joining, you will be given an amazing binder filled with a multitude of resources. Within the binder will be this amazing resource known as the USDA Crediting Handbook for the CACFP. This book will help determine all the credible and non-credible foods. To use the book, you will simply select the component you would like to verify from the index, search for the component amongst the list, and read whether the item is credible or not. The book is user-friendly and easy to follow with a simple graph listing the food, whether it is credible or not, and any additional information regarding the reason behind its credibility. Click the link below to take a glimpse. Here is our meal patterns. This one in particular is for infants. We do recommend that you become familiar with this, and I highly recommend that this is placed somewhere where you have access to it while you're gaining familiarity with the program. This is an amazing tool to utilize. It gives you a breakdown of which components are needed for which meals in order to claim them. So go ahead and take a second, have a look through this, familiarize yourself with it. You will get a hard copy once you receive your binder. That will be in there along with the regular meal patterns for all other ages. We have an example here of our CACFP infant meal form. This form is user-friendly and easy to follow, so if you have a look here to the right, you will keep this form on file for any infant. Once they turn 1, you will no longer need it. We may ask for it while in the home, if we observe any infants, you will only need to update this form whenever the infant starts eating new food, or if the infant cannot eat certain foods. So if they have any allergies, that will be noted there, and then any other changes that the infant is experiencing. If you need a copy of this, you may also request it via email or contact us and we'll have it sent over email so that you have it for your files. Meal pattern for the ages of 1 through 12. So breakfast must serve 3 components: milk, fruit, and or vegetable, and a grain. 3 times out of the week, the grain may be replaced by a meat alternative. Lunch and dinner. This must contain all 5 components: milk, fruit, vegetable, or vegetable, meat alternative, and a grain. You can do 2 vegetables but never 2 fruits, so keep that in mind. Snack must serve 2 components: milk, vegetable, fruit, meat alternative, or grain, any combination of 2 different components. So again, be mindful they need to be 2 different components and you cannot do 2 liquids, so no milk and no juice. Here's the meal pattern for the age group of 1 through 12. So breakfast must always include a fruit or a vegetable, and the meat only replaces the grain component. Again, that's only 3 times a week. Grains are measured using ounce equivalents. Make sure the whole grain is served and marked at least once per day. So once you are claiming your meals and you're inputting them into KidCare, there is going to be a little box below the grain. If it is a whole grain, please be sure to check that box. If not, it's not going to know it's not a whole grain and you will get marked on that. Children age 1 through 2 must drink whole milk. Children 2 years plus must drink 1%. So if a monitor is doing the visit, they will ask to verify the milk. Please be sure to have the correct milk for each age group on hand. Any child who does not drink regular cow milk or has other dietary restrictions needs to have a dietary accommodation form on file with us. Call or email the office so we can send you a copy of the appropriate form needed. Additional food information. So fluid milk, not reconstituted, must be served for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For children 2 years of age and over, USDA requires 1% skim milk. Whole milk is required for children between 1 and 2 years of age only. Whole milk or 2% milk is not credible at all for children over 2 years of age. If you serve 2% milk or whole milk during a meal observation, that milk will be disallowed. Chocolate milk is not allowed for children under the 6 years of age. Cereals may be claimed for breakfast and snacks only. Cereals must be enriched or whole grain and not contain more than 6 grams of sugar. This includes both hot and cold cereals. Cereals, hot or cold, which contain fruit, must be given an additional fruit as there is not enough fruit per serving. So be sure to list extra fruit such as bananas or strawberries, whatever it is that you are offering. Please be mindful that all juices served must be 100% fruit or vegetable juice. The label should say 100% fruit juice. If the first ingredient listed says water, then that does indicate that the juice is not 100% juice. Juice is also limited to once a day and cannot be served to infants. Lunches and suppers must include 2 servings of vegetable and or fruit. Mixed vegetables and fruit cocktail will count as 1 serving. 2 forms of the same vegetable or fruit, such as oranges and orange juice, should not be served at the same meal. Serve a fruit and a vegetable or 2 vegetables. 2 fruits are not credible. At breakfast, a meat or meat alternative such as eggs can replace the bread 3 times a week. The protein does not replace the fruit vegetable requirement. You must serve a fruit or vegetable for every breakfast. All 4 components can be served. A whole grain bread or bread alternative must be served once a day throughout all meals. You must check the meal on the menu that the whole grain was served. Hot dogs, corn dogs, and bologna are high in fat. Must have a label that states no byproducts or extenders or say 100% meat. We recommend that these not be served more than once a week due to the high fat content. Deli and luncheon meats must have a CN label or product formulation statement on file, or must be supplemented with extra cheese. Prepackaged frozen foods such as chicken nuggets, burritos, etc. that count towards the protein requirement must have a CN label or product formulation statement on file. See extra cheese for chicken nuggets under the cheese section used for chicken nuggets without a CN label. Homemade soups, stews, and casseroles must have a standardized recipe on file. The recipe must list the quantities of each component that you are counting towards the meal pattern. The quantities must be enough to meet the minimum portion requirement for each child that is served. Canned and prepared dinners such as spaghetti and meatballs, beef stew, chicken noodle dinner, and etc. are low in protein and must be supplemented with an egg, cheese, etc. The noodles used in the canned foods will not count as the bread component or alternative. Bread or bread alternative must also be added. For boxed macaroni and cheese, you must supplement with an additional protein or add extra cheese. Use number 85 for extra cheese under the meat section. Soups. When soups are homemade, the proteins such as a meat, poultry, fish, or dried beans may count as long as the quantity meets the portion requirement for each child. The noodles, rice, or dumplings may count as the bread component. The amount of fruit vegetable used in preparation can be credited towards the fruit vegetable requirement. Divide the quantity of vegetables and fruits prepared by the number of children served to determine how much fruit vegetable is in each serving. There should be a reasonable amount of each component to fulfill the component requirements. If used in small quantities, the vegetables and fruits may be considered only as a seasoning and should not be counted as a component. This is an example of diced or chopped carrots, celery, or onions. Homemade soups must have a standardized recipe on file. When commercial canned condensed soups are used, they will count as a vegetable serving only. The meat and noodles do not count as the protein or bread alternative requirement. Soups must be reconstituted according to the directions on the container. 1 8-ounce cup of reconstituted soup provides 1/4 cup of the fruit vegetable component. Kraft American cheese is not a credible cheese product due to the processing of the cheese. The label was changed from pasteurized cheese food to pasteurized prepared cheese product. The label must say food, not product. Peanut butter, served as a protein for lunch or supper, must be supplemented with extra proteins such as eggs, cheese, dried beans, etc. Canadian bacon is the only bacon product that is reimbursable, but remember that does also need to have a CN label. Spaghetti, ravioli, or lasagna, if homemade, must have a standardized recipe on file or have a CN approved label on the frozen foods. List the meat or cheese protein, the noodles for the bread component, and the sauce for 1 serving of fruit or vegetable component. Pizza, if homemade, must have a standardized recipe on file. The fruits, vegetables used as toppings, and the sauce or pasta combined will count only as 1 serving of the fruit vegetable requirement. Record number 237 for pizza sauce with additional toppings. Tomato pasta sauce alone is not enough to meet the portion requirement and is not credible on pizza. Commercial store-bought pizzas must have a CN label. Extra cheese can be added for the protein requirement if the product does not have a CN label. Use number 84. Salsa, chunky salsa may be served as a fruit vegetable component. Salsa must consist of fruit vegetable ingredients with the minor amounts of spices and flavorings. Each serving must be at least 1/8 of a cup. Salsa must be homemade and not commercial. Use number 233. Snacks must contain 2 items from 2 different food groups and must not consist of 2 fluids. More than 2 foods may be offered. Sweet crackers such as graham crackers and animal crackers are limited to twice a week. Fruit leather or fruit chews can be store-bought or homemade. The label on the commercial fruit snacks must document 1/8 cup of fruit served. Yogurt will count as protein only. Yogurt must be store-bought and not homemade and contain 23 grams or less of sugar per 6 ounces. Infants, only iron-fortified cereals will meet the cereal requirement for breakfast and must be served until 1 year old. A meat or meat alternative such as eggs or yogurts can replace the infant cereal at breakfast 3 times a week. Infant cereal can also be used to meet the protein requirement for lunch and dinner. The infant commercial prepared foods such as chicken and vegetables, ham and vegetables, beef and noodles, etc. will only count as one component and not both. You must offer another pure strain meat or alternative or infant fruit vegetable. Number 270 includes all infant vegetables. You may use any of the other foods listed on your food chart except for the few foods that have been blocked for infants and are marked with an asterisk. Fruit desserts will not count for the fruit vegetable requirement. Milk. Under 1, iron fortified infant formula or breast milk. Age 1 to 2, whole cow milk. Age 2 to 5, 1% or fat-free cow milk. Ages 6 through 12, 1% or fat-free cow milk. Be sure to always have the correct milk for each age group. We are aware that some kiddos may need milk alternatives. We do have 2 different forms that are required for fluid milk substitution. The first one here to the right is the request for fluid milk substitution childcare. This form is to be filled out and signed by the parent for any of the listed milks down below. No other brands of soy milk or non-dairy milks are allowed as substitution with this form, so just be mindful. As a part of the meal pattern, we do require that you serve 1 whole grain per day. We do have a great way to identify whole grains with the rule of 3. So grain products must be made with whole grains or enriched meal and or enriched flour or bran or germ. Grain products served are credited based on ounce equivalents. At least 1 serving per day across all meals and snack must be whole grain rich. Grain-based desserts do not count towards meeting the requirement. Breakfast cereals must contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. To identify whole grain or whole grain enriched foods, we do recommend becoming familiar with the rule of 3 to meet the criteria. The first ingredient or second after water must be whole grain, and the next 2 ingredients, if any, must be whole grains, enriched grains, bran or germ. Grain derivatives, byproducts of grains, do not count and can be ignored when evaluating. Storing whole grain labels is also something that is fairly new. However, it is fairly simple. So whole grain labels must be on file and on site if serving a whole grain rich product. You must show us the nutrition label. So there are 2 options. You can cut out the nutrition label and keep it in a binder, folder, Ziploc bag, however you choose. Or there's option 2, you can take a picture of the nutrition label and keep it saved on a file on your phone. A lot of providers are opting for option number 2. It is saves space and it's a little more organized. You can literally have just a whole album labeled nutrition and keep all of the labels that are needed. You will not be able to claim a grain as a whole grain rich at a monitored visit unless the monitor is able to verify the grain as whole grain rich. So please call or email the office with additional questions or clarification. We will help you as best as you can. We will be sending over a folder with protective sheet covers that you can use to store your nutrition labels once you complete the annual training. Marking the whole grains is almost as important as serving the whole grains. This is one of the main things that providers do forget to do when submitting their meals. As you can see under the bread alternate section, there is the wheat oatmeal bread. Right below that, there is a little question. It says, is this whole grain rich? If the product is whole grain rich, please be sure to select yes. If not, you can leave it alone and move on to your next component. Again, please be sure that you are clicking that if it is a whole grain rich product. We love pictures and we think it is a great way to assist you guys in finding the correct products. Here we have some approved cereal examples. These are all Cheerios. They have the nutrition label on the side so that you get an example of what it is you're looking for. Here are some more approved cereals. Another great way to identify whether they are whole grain or within the sugar limit is to utilize the WIC stickers at the supermarket. Those are typically above or below the product depending on how the store is set up. That is a great way to assure that they are approved cereals, they are within the sugar limits, they are whole grain, whatever it may be. There are some more of the approved yogurts. These are all within the sugar limits. Again, best way, look for the WIC sign when you are at the supermarket. Here we have some examples of whole grains. It doesn't necessarily have to be bread. There are plenty of options nowadays that do have whole grain enriched products. One of the most popular is the wheat thins. They are 100% whole grain and they are really yummy. Standardized recipes has been mentioned a few times throughout this PowerPoint already, so we'll go over that and exactly what is a standardized recipe. So using a standardized recipe can help ensure your recipe turns out the same way each time you make it. It is a good practice to use a standardized recipe when a menu has 2 or more components that are mixed together. So if the components are separate, no recipe is needed. So for example, if we arrive and you're serving spaghetti and the pasta, tomato sauce, and meat are in separate dishes, there's no need for a recipe because we can see each component that is being served to the child and we can verify whether you're serving the minimum requirements or not. What is a standardized recipe? A standardized recipe is one that has been tried, adapted, and retried for the use in a food service operation and is shown to produce the same high quality product and yield every time. A standardized recipe in the CACFP shows that the menu item meets the meal pattern requirements. When creating your standardized recipe, the only sections we will be looking at is the title, the average number of children you have in a given week for each age group, the components in the recipe, and the total serving size for each component. There's no need to write the directions on how to prepare the food. We don't need your family recipe. We're just needing those basic components that you will be claiming. So this is also a great time to reference your meal pattern sheet, the one that we had seen before. We have developed and simplified a recipe worksheet for you to use in the following slide. We'll mail out folders with protective sheet covers and several copies of the worksheet to help you get started on writing your recipes. That will also be in your binder once we get you signed up officially. You will receive a binder with all of that information, and this will be included as well. Here is the example of the standardized worksheet that we were referring to. So as you can see, it has that recipe name, the age groups, and then the components, the description, and the total that is going to be used. These are the 2 items you will need in order to create the recipe. So the copy of the standardized recipe worksheet and the meal pattern reference sheet. Now comes the fun part. So we'll write the name of your recipe. Write the average number of children you have in a typical week for each age group. And this example for 1 to 2, we have 2, 3 to 5, there's 2, 6 to 12, there's 2. Also the recipe name is meatballs and marinara. Write the components in the recipe. So for this recipe on the right, we do have, for the meat alternative, ground beef, grain, brown rice, it is whole grain rich, vegetable, tomato sauce, and vegetable fruit, mixed veggies, carrots, and celery. To determine the serving size for a component, multiply that age group by the total minimum serving size listed for that age group on the meal pattern worksheet. After you find the serving size for each age group for one component, add them and it will give you the total serving size for that one component. Write that in the total box. So as you can see, for each component there is the listed serving sizes. So for the meat alternative, 9 ounces, grain 4 ounces, vegetable 1.75 cups, and then the other vegetable is another 1.75 cups. Here's a more up close version of the meatballs and marinara. So if you just want to go over and look at that. This is for a recipe for a capacity of 6. So all you need to do is multiply the serving size for the amount in that age group, then add together. So for this example, you have 2 1 to 2-year-olds, 2 3 to 5-year-olds, and 2 6 to 12-year-olds. For the meat component, you will need 1 ounce per 1 to 2-year-old, so that is 2 ounces, 1.5 ounces for the 3 to 5 age group, so 3 ounces in total, and 2 ounces for the 6 to 12, so that's 4 ounces total. So then we're going to go ahead and add the 2 plus 3 plus 4, and that equals 9. Now you do that for whatever other components are in your combination meal. If it is a mix of just 2 different components, then that's all you'll need in that standardized recipe. Here we have another example for beef stew. So it looks like this is a standard recipe for a capacity of 12. So for the age group of 1 to 2, you have 2. For 3 to 5, there's 6 kiddos. 6 to 12, there are 4. So for the meat component, you'll need to do 1 ounce per 1 to 2, so that's 2 ounces. 1.5 ounces for 3 to 5, so that is 9 ounces, and 2 ounces for 6 to 12, so that's 8 ounces in total. We'll add those all together. 2 plus 9 plus 8 equals 19 ounces. And then do that for whatever remaining components you have in the meal. If that's just the 2 components you have, then there's no other needed components that you'll need to add in. And one last recipe. This one here is for chicken Alfredo. It looks like this standardized recipe is for a capacity of 8. This one looks like they have no kiddos for the age group of 1 to 2, but you do have 5 for 3 to 5 years old and 3 for 6 to 12. For the meat component, you'll do the 1.5 ounces for 3 to 5, and that'll equal to 7.5 ounces, and 2 ounces for 6 to 12. So that is 6 ounces. Then you'll just add the 7.5 plus the 6, equaling a total of 13 ounces for the meat alternative. Again, remember when doing these standardized recipes, you are only placing the components that you are going to claim. So we don't need to know salt content, we don't need to know any of the other added spices or ingredients that you're adding, just the components that you will be claiming. Now, earlier we did mention when the components are all separate, we would not need a recipe. So here are 2 examples of what does not require a recipe and when a recipe would be required. So on the left-hand side, you will see all 3 of the components of the spaghetti are in separate bowls. So again, we can see the components that are being served. And then to the right, that one requires a recipe as we have no way of knowing the serving size for each component. So what to expect with the standardized recipes, we will ask for the recipes during monitor visits if you are serving a homemade dish with 2 or more mixed components. We will make sure that the totals offer the minimum serving sizes as required by the CACFP. If you don't want to write standardized recipes, do not premix the components. As long as the components are separate, a recipe is not required. Let's go ahead and familiarize ourselves with the meal serving times so that we can Assure that the meals claimed will be reimbursed. Starting with breakfast, it does start at 6 a.m. through 9 a.m. The child must be in the door by 8:55 a.m. in order to claim the breakfast. We do have the breakfast time set in our system to continue on for 3 hours, so hopefully it meets all the needs of children coming in at different times in the morning. Providers need to make sure that the serving time listed is the first time a child is served. If you list a later meal time and some of the kiddos head out for school, the system won't think that they are in your care during the meal service and the meal may be disallowed. AM snack is from 9 a.m. through 10:45 a.m. The child must be present for at least 5 minutes. There are no restrictions for AM snack, and it's totally up to the provider whether they want to serve it or not. Keep in mind, children should not go more than 3 hours between meals. Lunch serving time starts at 10:45 a.m. through 1:30 p.m. So lunch cannot begin before 10:45 unless there is a note on file from the school stating that the child have to be picked up early to meet their bus schedule. The children must be in the door no later than 1:25 in order to claim the lunch, and the children must be in care for at least 10 minutes in order to claim the lunch. So if you start lunch at 12:30 to 1 and a kiddo gets there at 12:30 and they clock out at 1, that is fine. If they get there at 12:30 and clock out at 12:35, the meal may be disallowed. PM snack begins from 2 to 4:45. The children must be in care for at least 5 minutes in order to claim the snack. They must eat the snack on your premises, and you cannot fill up a baggie for them to take off with it if they are signed out. Dinner serving time is from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Dinner cannot start before 5 p.m. There are no ways around it. Dinner cannot start before 5 p.m. The children must be in care for at least 10 minutes from the start of dinner. If they leave before 5:10 p.m., the meal will be disallowed. Dinner ends at 7 p.m. and cannot be claimed for children arriving at 7 p.m. or later. Evening snack is from 7 p.m. through bedtime, so it cannot start before 7 p.m. So if the child leaves before 7 p.m., the snack will be disallowed. We also do send out some quarterly newsletters. These are sent out every 3 months via email to keep you guys updated. These newsletters are awesome because they have tons of great information. They have delicious recipes, snack ideas. Sometimes we'll even do some fun activities for the kiddos. There is a link right here below that you can click on and see one of our most recent ones, and to the right is a little snippet of it as well. Now let's go ahead and recap as we have gone over quite a bit of information. There will be a quiz at the end to confirm participation, so please follow along. So as you can see, communication plays a pretty vital role in our program, and as a part of the agreement, some visits will be unannounced, so we don't want to bother you if you're not open or if you're in the middle of an emergency. Please communicate with us, whether it be through phone or email, to let us know of any closures, schedule changes. Just remember, if you don't tell us, we won't know. 3 daily requirements. So daily record keeping is a critical part of the participation in the CACFP program. The 3 records that need to be kept on a daily basis are your menus, meal counts, and in and out attendance. Other records that need to be kept are the copies of the application and agreement you signed to participate in the program, review forms, child enrollment forms, training certificates, etc. Again, be mindful that all of these records must be kept for the current year plus 3 years back. Please be sure to stay within the meal serving times to receive payments. Meals must fall within the designated meal times, so Keep these in mind when serving. This will ensure flawless claims. So here to the right is an example, and again in your sign-up binder you will get a hard copy. If you're needing an extra one, please reach out to us. I can send it to you via email as well. For the food information, always be mindful you're following the CACFP meal patterns and be sure to be serving the minimum requirements. If you're serving above the minimum requirements, that's a-okay. We are just looking and making sure that you are serving the minimum requirements. Be sure to serve 1 whole grain per day and follow the rule of 3s to ensure proper whole grain identification. Again, if you ever have any doubts and you're not sure, contact us and we can walk you through that. Serve correct milk for each age group to avoid meal disallowances, but most importantly, feel free to reach out with any questions. It's better to be sure than to guess, and we're here for you. Enrollment forms. Please be sure to have all children, including your own under the age of 13 and daycare children, enrolled in the food program. Once enrolled, print that enrollment form and email a signed copy to nutrition@catholiccharities.org. It may also be mailed to the office if you prefer it that way. Enrollment forms must be sent within the same month the child started attending or by the 5th of the following month. Always be sure the parent signature date is within the same month of when the child was enrolled. Be mindful any delay in sending enrollment forms will also delay reimbursement for the meals claimed for that child. We are also active on social media. Be sure to give us a like and follow our Facebook page for latest updates, nutrition tips, and so much more. We have reached the end of our intro to our nutrition program PowerPoint. Please complete the quiz form, submit the forms online, or mail them to our office. The quiz is your timestamp. You must answer all questions or it will not submit. Once completed, a representative from our office will contact you to complete the sign-up process. Welcome and thank you so much for your interest in our program. We look forward to working with you.